Hello again, beautiful beings of light. I wanted to start by asking you, are you ready? Are you really ready for this? Just like I said in my last video, I've been really called to put out information that unlocks an aspect of who you are. And as I said a couple of videos ago, in order to be a master, we need to dive into the light and dive into the dark. And I want to be really vulnerable with all of you today and say that back in 2016, I put out a reptilian video because I have a lot of experience with reptilians. And I took it down. I was so nervous. I was so scared to put it out there. I don't know if I was more scared about what the government or YouTube would react, as a company or an organization, or if I was scared that I didn't want to be fear-based. I didn't want to go that way. I wanted to be love and light. I wanted to give people hope. And I'm going to give you some hope today. But this is really, I don't talk about it often. So I'm laying everything down today. I'm putting it all on the table. And I have to say, as always, take it or leave it. Okay, this video is definitely not going to be for everyone. Do I believe that each and every one of you have reptilian DNA? 100%. And you're going to know why I believe that by the end of this video. But is everyone ready to unlock that DNA? Is everyone ready to dismantle it? Is everyone ready to shut down that reptilian DNA within them? No. And if you react to this video, then most likely it means that you have some work to do. It means that you have to go a little bit deeper. And so this video may trigger you. Now, I want to set an intention for everyone and for myself for this video. I have a purpose for the information in this video. And this is what I wrote down in meditation right before this. Okay, here's my intention. By understanding this aspect of yourself, you then have full control over operating it. We all have the reptilian brain. Literally, scientifically, it's called the reptilian brain. We all have that fight or flight mechanism within us. It's no longer a time to be stuck within this third dimension. And I truly believe that that reptilian brain and that DNA within you, it keeps us anchored in this matrix, in this illusion, in this reality. At the very end of this video, I am going to give you an affirmation. And the affirmation, when said repeatedly, will actually allow you to dismantle your reptilian DNA. Okay, and that affirmation was channeled. And once again, as always, everything in this video has been channeled and experienced directly from source. I do not do any third dimensional research or external research coming from this reality. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, one more thing. This video isn't necessarily for children. I know a lot of you watch my videos with your children, which is amazing. I do highly believe that starseed children know about the reptilians. They have a good idea and understanding of what's going on the planet, but there is definitely going to be some X-rated content, okay? So maybe it's a good time to just kind of close the video or walk into the other room or stick on your headphones or what have you, but definitely, maybe not for children. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning of when I got introduced to reptilians. Half of what I'm going to relay to you today are the direct experiences, the freaking crazy experiences that I've had with reptilians directly. And the other half is information directly channeled from the Galactic Federation all the way since 2012 to today. Okay, once again, guys, this may trigger you. Take it or leave it. And hopefully you just kind of come at this with an open mind. All right. All right. So let's start with 2012. This is kind of when I had Well, 2010, I had my first abduction experience. I connected with, a lot of star families, and I started channeling interdimensionals. It wasn't until late 2011 when I got introduced directly to the Galactic Federation. After my meeting with the Galactic Federation back in 2011, I had another meeting with them back in 2012. Okay. So once again, the Galactic Federation came to me, and I'll kind of explain the experience. So I was just hanging out in my student residence at the time. And this huge white light being, beautiful being, I don't know if it was a Palladian, I don't really know what kind of being it was, just looked like a giant, kind of maybe 6 or 7 foot tall astral body that walked into the room, okay? And this being told me telepathically that they need my help. They needed my help. And at this point, I was astral traveling, I was remote viewing, I was telepathically communicating to a variety of different species. I was having flashbacks of past lifetimes. Like, I was in it, right? And so I said, okay, great. What do you need me for? Right? Let's go, right? So he takes me to this place, felt like a male energy, takes me to this place, and it was just kind of sitting in the universe. We didn't go on a ship. We didn't go to another planet. We just kind of sat in space. And I was in my astral body. He was in his astral body. And he brings up this, I don't know what to call it. It looked like a hologram. It kind of like he opened up a television screen when we were just sitting there in this astral realm. And he showed me all of these clips, like very realistic clips, like watching a movie, all of these clips of these giant dinosaur type beings, humanoid dinosaur type beings, and they were on different planets. And every time they showed me a new clip of these dinosaur, humanoid type beings, they were always taking over. Sometimes they had guns, and I thought that was actually kind of funny to see, a humanoid dinosaur carrying a huge gun. I'm like, what? Like, at this point, I didn't really know interdimensional. I'm like, an interdimensional being can carry a gun? I thought that was a very human thing. Like, I thought that was a very earthbound thing. So, I was learning as I went. And so I just saw them time and time again, in war zones, taking over entire civilizations, gaining access to money and power and control on all different terrestrial planets all over the universe, in all different galaxies. And so this astral being told me, he said, if we allow what is happening right now to continue to take place, these beings will do the same to humans. They will do the same to this civilization. And I said, okay, well, what do we do? Like, what's next? How do we stop this, right? So he kind of had to show me a little bit of the history of this species. And of course, he was showing me the Draconians, the Archons, the Reptilians. You need to know, and I'm not going to talk too much about this, but there's so many different types of reptilians out there in the universe, right? So the other thing too is not all reptilians are bad, guys. They're not, okay? But we're going to be talking about the reptilians and humans and planet Earth, and it's not a lovely story, to say the least. Okay, so after he showed me all these clips, who knows how long he was showing me this for, but it was enough where I was like, whoa, we have to put a stop to this. So then he said, we need your help, right? We need your help now. And I said, where are we going? And he said, just follow me. And it was so cool, okay? So we go from this, just kind of outside of Earth's atmosphere in an astral body. We zoom, like I swear, at the speed of light. And both of us, and I'm just following him, hurtle into the planet, right? We hurtle kind of into planet Earth. And all of a sudden, we're in this very dark space. And there are, what was it? I think it was around 16. Was it 17 and I was the 18th? It was a long time ago. Or was it 12? Anyway, there was a group, okay? I think it was around 16. 16 different light bodies, right? So they were all in their astral body. And they were in a formation. They were in a triangle formation, kind of like you see the birds in the sky. They were in this triangle formation. And this being who showed me all the clips said, this is your this is your light tribe, this is your warrior tribe, and we're gonna all go together and we're gonna confront the reptilians. And I'm like, what? You just introduced me to this species, and now we're gonna go confront them? So I said, okay, it's fine. And here I am in the physical at the age of, I don't know, 20, however old I was, in 2012. Yeah, I think 20. And, I'm sitting in my room meditating, right? And all this is going on. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. Like, I guess I'll just follow your lead. So when he went into the formation, all of a sudden, the very last spot in the formation was the front. All of a sudden, I realized that I was the leader of this little tribe of light warriors. And I'm like, okay. So I just let go of any inhibitions. I let go of any sort of questioning that I had from my human. And I went with it. And what we did was we all came together in this ball of light. And we spun really fast. And we went down, right? We went down underneath the planet, like inside planet Earth. And all of a sudden we end up in this cave. And I don't know how else to describe it other than a cave. And in this cave, there was a huge crowd of reptilian beings. And they weren't in their astral body, they were in their physical body. And in that moment, I realized that we had just transitioned or spun into the fourth density frequency, right? The fourth dimension. And this is where these reptilians exist, in the physical. And to put it lightly, like how to describe it is, if you imagine a concert with potentially, I don't even know how many, but hundreds of thousands of people, right, at this concert, but it was all black, it was all dark. So when we popped into that space, when we popped into that cave, we were the only thing that lit that cave up. It was so weird. We actually literally lit the cave up. And all I could see below us, maybe about 10 feet below us, were heads, just completely silhouetted, blacked out heads. And I knew instinctively that those were all the reptilians. And so once again, instinctively, intuitively, I started speaking to them in this loud, booming, telepathic voice. And I mean, I couldn't even planned what I was going to say to this crowd of reptilians, but here's basically a summary of what I said to them. I said, we know who you are. We know what you're doing. You're no longer allowed to get away with what you have been doing to planet Earth and the humans. And if you continue to do what you're doing, we're going to take you down. You're not allowed to be here anymore. And it's a good time to start planning your exit, right? And that was it. Like, I really just confronted them. My light tribe was behind me. We weren't looking for a battle. We just wanted to tell them, get out of here, right? You can't be here anymore. And so with that, it was so powerful. I'm like, oh, damn. And then with that, right at the end, we were planning on exiting, and it was so wild. These reptilian beings started jumping, and they tried to grab us and pull us down. I didn't even know this is possible in the astral realm and the 4th D and the astral, and I don't know. Anyway, so they started jumping towards us to pull us down. And it was the craziest experience, because as they jumped, these reptilian beings, to pull us down, kind of take us down into that vibration, the closer they got to us, the more I could see every single detail of their faces. And each one of them looked different, but very all similar, right? So like a dinosaur humanoid, or like a reptilian, like lizard humanoid. It was so wild. I've never really seen them like that before, but this is 2012. And as they got closer to us, I could see all their defining features and their scales, and some of them had horns, some of them didn't, flat noses, and they tried to grab us. And then in that moment, we all once again went together in that ball. We spun around at the speed of light, and we popped back into the 3rd dimension. And, I was thanked by the being who brought me into all of that, and then I went back in my body, and I'm like, what was that, right? So that was my first real confrontation and experience with reptilians. Now, after that moment, after that experience, and I was introduced to them very lightly in 2011 when the Galactic Federation told me that there was a species that was taking over humans, but they didn't really go much into it. Okay, so then I'm trying to think of the series of events. After that, I started to look into the Illuminati, right? And I was basically kind of directed to all of these different resources online, and the different Illuminati symbolism, and understanding that these reptilian beings are actually, shapeshifting into human form, and, they're controlling every aspect, especially of the mainstream. And I started to seriously break down the illusion of this matrix. I would watch a music video and I would say, oh, black and white floors. Oh, the sign of the whatever, the triangle, right? I mean, it was just, it was so clear and so evident in every single way possible, that it kind of freaked me out, right? I mean, I felt really trapped in that moment in this reality. And then in 2013, I wanted to dig deeper, and I was getting really good at astral traveling at this point. And so what I ended up doing was I went back in human history during a deep state of trance meditation, and I went back to really see, how have the reptilians, how did they get here? Who are they really? And why do they have such a strong pull and such a strong desire to overtake humans? I wanted to know the truth, and I was starting to put all the pieces together. So here's what I did. So once again, in a deep state of trance, I went back into human history, and I went back a long time. Of course, what history tells us are the timelines are definitely false. They're not, they say that these timelines are like this. I see the timelines as this, right, on the planet. And so I went back, and the most significant timeline that I went into was ancient Egypt. And for those of you who have seen my lecture, you'll know this story, but I'll kind of deep dive a little bit more. So all of a sudden, here I am, 2013, I go back and I see ancient Egypt as it was. And along with the human beings who looked extremely short back in ancient Egypt, I also saw 10 to even 25-foot humanoid beings who I now know as the Anunnaki. Back then, I didn't know the names of any of these beings, so I just said, oh, this is a giant human. Okay, cool. And so then, along with the giant humanoids, there was these dinosaur-type reptilian beings. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there are the Reptilians. And the weird thing is that both the Anunnaki and the Reptilians were walking around with the human beings. And the hierarchy and the structure that I was aware of is that the Anunnaki were the revered ones. They were the ones that were looked up to as gods. And the Reptilians, who were also huge, okay, they were like 10 feet tall. So, I mean, almost double the height of an average human back then. And they were kind of the managers. They were the managers of the Anunnaki, and they kind of just did the bidding of the Anunnaki for them. And that being said, they got a pretty good hierarchy role as well. And so, and these reptilian beings were really cruel to human beings, like basically like slave owners. So I'm looking at this whole scene and I'm like, whoa, how wild is that? I mean, we were walking around with them, and we have no record of this, So I actually questioned. I went to my, my galactic family. I said, okay, why, if the Anunnaki and if these reptilians were walking around as ancient Egypt was being developed, why don't we have a record of them during ancient Egypt? And so what they told me is, it was illegal. Okay, huge kind of capital, illegal for the humans to depict the reptilians in their true form in hieroglyphics as well as in statues, because there was art. There was a lot of art and pottery and things back in that time. It was illegal for them to depict their true form. So they always depicted them in different forms, right? Super interesting. They did say that there's a couple of artifacts that humans risked their lives to create back then to kind of give that information to us now. And if you look up reptilian Egyptian artifacts, maybe you'll be able to find them. Okay, very cool. And then a lot of the pharaohs and the gods of ancient Egypt were depicted as these huge statues. Turns out they were actually that tall, right? In a lot of cases, that's actually how big they were, which is really mind-blowing. Okay, so the point is, what ended up happening was It was so cool. I'll never forget this visual. So here I am scanning, right, all through ancient Egypt, taking a look at the dynamics. All of a sudden, I see these three, during ancient Egypt, when the Anunnaki and the Reptilians were there, these three huge flying saucers, kind of, a little bit more flat, coming down, right, over the pyramids. And it was the freaking Galactic Federation. And I'm like, yay, here you guys are. And what the Galactic Federation did, so they came down and they gave the Anunnaki and the Reptilians a message. And they said, you are no longer allowed to be here and to be interfering with human beings anymore. And you have to get off the planet. And so, surprisingly, to be honest, the ones who had all the power, which were the Anunnaki, said, okay, cool, sure, I'm getting off, we're getting off. There wasn't too many of them, but at the same time, they felt like, you know, what they wanted to get out of humans and this planet, they got, right? So they left super willingly. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, because they had all the power. The Reptilians, no freaking way. They did not want to leave. And something that they said to the Galactic Federation, my ear just popped, something that they said to the Galactic Federation at that time was, we aren't leaving this planet because this planet is ours. And the Galactic Federation said, we know this planet was originally yours, but it's no longer yours moving forward. And I was super confused by this because I'm like, what? What do you mean this planet was originally the Reptilians, right? I was so confused. So what I did is I stopped that vision. I stopped that flashback of human history midway through, and I went back even farther. And I said, now I want to discover, you know, how did Reptilians get here? Like, what was the original? And I went all the way back to dinosaur era, dinosaur times, hundreds of thousands of years ago. And boom, there you have it. Lo and behold, there are these dinosaurs, as we know, because we've found the skeletons. And they were also a very thriving race of draconian, reptilian, basically humanoid dinosaur beings that were ruling over the land at that time. So I don't really know necessarily how they originally got here, but I can absolutely validate and verify that the reptilians who have been on this planet long before humans, long before even apes were ever here, okay? So in a way, you have to have compassion for them because, you know, this planet was kind of given in a lot of ways from the Galactic Federation to this experimental species, right? Us, this hybrid species. And the funny thing is that human beings have Anunnaki DNA within them. The Anunnaki helped to create us. Human beings have Palladian DNA within us from ancient Atlantis and Lemuria. So here we are, these little tiny, fragile human bodies, and yet we are 10 times more powerful because we have been advanced rapidly from high vibrational interdimensional beings. And these poor lowly reptilians have had to evolve one stage at a time. And to be honest, because they do not allow themselves to overcome the fear, which really, it's not being scared of something, it's the attachment, okay, to power and control and greed. And because they will not let go of that attachment, they will not ascend. And they aren't ascending and they cannot move forward as a species. So they are stuck. And they believe that this planet is theirs, and all of a sudden the human beings go from a slave race and they go from free sovereignty at that time when the Galactic Federation came down and basically freed us, which is crazy, right? So flash forward back to ancient Egypt, the GFL coming down, telling the reptilians they got to get off. So basically, because the Reptilians said, no way, we're not leaving our own planet, this is ridiculous, the Galactic Federation told them, you don't have to leave the planet, but you can no longer interfere with human beings. Therefore, you can't be seen. This is important, guys. You can't be seen by humans. So the Galactic Federation kind of exiled the Reptilians underground. This is where you get the start of the underground tunnels and underground cities and the cavernous type of, civilization that the reptilians have been living in for years and years. So the whole point is you can't be seen by humans, okay? So what the reptilians did is they went underground, and some of them left, actually. Some of them did say, okay, well, if we're not welcome here and we have to stay underground, then we're leaving. And that was like the higher vibrational ones. And then, so they went underground, but they developed technologies and they started interbreeding with certain humans that they felt were the strongest. And they started to create not only just a human reptilian bloodline on the planet, but they also started to create technologies where they were able to shapeshift into a human being without the need to have the bloodline, right? So originally, before the technology, it was the bloodline. So there's kind of two ways that reptilians can shapeshift into humans. One half is if a human being has a higher than normal reptilian DNA bloodline, okay, a reptilian can, in a sense, a reptilian soul can kind of split their soul in their body and in a sense possess the body of the human being who has the high amounts of reptilian DNA. Okay, that's kind of how it happens. And then when that possession happens, and I'll tell you that it doesn't happen too often, but when that possession happens, there are a lot of reptilian traits of the greed and the power and the attachment and the control that all come out in that human. It's like that reptilian possession triggers the reptilian, functionality of that human. And so this is why it is so important for every single one, no matter what language, culture, race, background, every single royal family on the entire planet decided to keep it in the bloodline. That's interesting. And I believe that the reason why is because that keeps the reptilian bloodline pure so that the possession and the control and takeover can happen. Now, recently they've created technology, right, in the past 100 years or so, where they have a device. I don't really know much about it. And the device basically shifts them into almost like a holographic form. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, I literally can't even describe this device because it's a 4D technology. Like we wouldn't even be able to understand it. But it's like it shapeshifts them into a human body, like a body that you can touch. Like it's a 4D hologram. Okay, I don't know much else about that, but that's also what's happening. So they have the reptilians say, okay, cool, the humans aren't seeing us, but we're still in control, and that's been their main motive this entire time. Every aspect of this entire society is built around the control and the suppression of human beings because we are far more powerful than they are. Therefore, we are a threat. I cannot express it enough. We are a threat to reptilians. So they're trying to take us down. And you know what? Kudos to them because they've succeeded. Wow, have they ever succeeded? Music industry, celebrities, politicians, religion, oh my God, right? Crazy. They really have. And now they can't succeed anymore, right? They can't move forward anymore. So let's go back to 2013, all right? There's a little background for you. Okay, back to 2013. So I was so curious about this. My number one thing when I was kind of waking up to all this information was, how many of them are there? Like really, like how common is this? And at first I was like, oh, cool, no big deal. They're all just the top 1%ers. Nothing's ever going to change. It's always going to be this way. It's way too big to take down, and that was kind of my perception. And I didn't really do anything about it. But then eventually, I wanted to see for myself. Like I needed that proof. I think as human beings, we're always kind of looking for that validation. So in 2013, I said to my reality, I don't know, I said, I want to see a reptilian shapeshifter. And here I was going to university in Hamilton, Ontario, McMaster University. And, it's not a small town, but it's not LA, let's just say, okay? So I was taking the bus to and from my apartment and to school. And yeah, and so, after I basically put the call out, I want to experience this. I want to see them firsthand. Like, I want to know that they're actually here. And I was on the bus, and the oddest thing ever, there's this woman, okay, she looks like she's literally straight out of the 1930s or 40s. She's wearing all pink. She wasn't that old actually. She was maybe like 45. She had this perfect pink hat and these white gloves, and she was sitting there. It was like, I was like looking around the bus saying, is anyone else noticing this woman? And she was put together. Like, she definitely wasn't homeless, but she looked a little, Anyway, so her legs were crossed and her hands were on her knees, just very proper, just sitting there. And I got a weird feeling about her, like a dark, like she was wearing pink, like all pink. And I got really dark vibes from her. So I closed my physical eyes, I closed my human eyes, and I opened up my third eye. And it was one of the most grotesque visuals I've ever seen in my life. There she is sitting, and I can see her physical self with my third eye. She's sitting there, and behind her is this huge, ugly, dark, almost like a black shadow, reptilian entity that's like latched on to her back. It's latched onto her. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a reptilian possession. Like, I saw it, right? And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I opened my eyes again, and I just looked to see if she noticed me, and no, she didn't. She was like right across from me. This wasn't like down the bus. This was right across from me. So I closed my eyes again, and I started shooting light into her, not aggressively, but with love, right? I'm like, you're loved. Like, you deserve freedom. You deserve sovereignty. You're a human too. I love you. We love you. Da da da. So much white light, and I did that for, maybe a concentrated 60 seconds, which is quite a lot of love, right? In that 60 seconds, I opened my eyes, and I shit you not, this woman is like up against the window of the bus. She has this face, like it's almost like she just got shot, like the most painful face you could ever imagine, like this. And you could tell this thing was like fighting me, right? And so I just kept doing that until it was my stop. But I'm like, damn, okay. Like, that was my first experience. And so when I checked in with my cosmic family and I said, this woman clearly isn't, she clearly isn't a political figure. She's just taking the bus. She's taking a bus, for God's sake, right? Like, she really clearly doesn't have too much influence. And I asked them, I said, so are everyday people reptilian shapeshifters or possessed by reptilians as well? And they said, obviously not a huge majority. Like, I don't even want to come up with a percentage. Like, yeah, I don't even want to come up with a percentage. I don't even know where to begin with that. But they said that they have been implanted in human beings just to kind of like mess with people a little bit, right? And then the next week, I found another reptilian shapeshifter on the bus. Same sort of possession. It was almost looking like a homeless man, and he was doing this weird thing with his hands. And then all of a sudden he would get up really aggressively on the bus and he would start yelling at people, like in their face. And I tuned in, and that was also a shapeshifter, but I didn't do any energy work on them. Anyway, so that was kind of my first experience with the reptilian shapeshifters, like physically, because I wanted that validation. After that, like I said, I started to break down this disillusion of society and really, see through the lies and the Illuminati and the shadow government. And the thing is, they're so proud to be in this little culty club of theirs. They're so proud of the power that they have that they flaunt it, okay? And I want to mention one more thing. I could talk all day about this because I've had so many experiences, but there's a couple other things that I want to get to. So yeah, before I move forward, I want to say that most of the politicians, most of the celebrities, most of the, the very powerful shapeshifters in society, they literally have to sell their soul. Like that's, I don't know, you hear about these stories, but literally that's exactly how it happens. They have to sign a contract to sell their soul, to exit out of their body, to allow a reptilian entity to enter their body so that the reptilian can just be them. And sometimes it's split. Sometimes they're half the human soul, and sometimes they shapeshift into that reptilian. And so they literally have to sign a contract to say, I allow this to happen for fame, for money, for infinite whatever exposure. And literally they get fame, money, and infinite exposure, but they lose completely themselves. They lose their sovereignty. It's the worst type of thing imaginable, Okay. So then this leads me. Oh yeah, I want to say too, after I started opening up about the truth of reptilians and seeing them in my physical reality, I started getting very psychically attacked, which I'm actually quite grateful for, because it allowed me to be such a master in my own right of discernment and light and dark. And I know I needed to go through that. Okay, so fast forward to 2014 now. I know it's like year after year, this exposure to reptilians. 2014 was crazy, guys. Like literally, this is like a blackout period of my life, and I'll tell you exactly why. The reason why is because I dated a full-on reptilian shapeshifter. And it wasn't until I was sitting down today and writing down the timelines of things, and I'm like, oh my God, I literally called in an experience with a physical shapeshifter, and I dated one after that. Like, I'm like, I'm so stupid. Like, why would I do that? Anyway, just be careful what you ask for. Okay, so this man came into my life, and super spiritual, like really just projected this, like, I'm a Reiki master, massage therapist, hippie, and I met him at a freaking hippie festival in the middle of the woods in Canada. And he was twice my age. I was 22, he was 44. Extremely charming, like over the top charming, women would swoon over him, and he was a very alpha kind of manly man, rode motorcycles, chopped firewood, like that kind of guy. And he was like this movie star, like he had this aura to him. It was so wild, like so kind of like sociopathic charming, Anyway, I didn't see it. I definitely didn't see it. I was so naive. Now, what I believe, and before I go into this reptilian relationship, what I believe is that I've been so psychically attacked, even in childhood, in my dream space, in my physical reality. Oh my goodness, I didn't even tell you, but after the 2013 experience, I had a reptilian being enter my university roommate, and she made my life a living hell for about a year. I mean, she would record all of my conversations on her phone by slipping her phone under my door just to intimidate me. Like, it was really messed up. Anyway, besides the point. The reptilian relationship. So, I believe that they tried everything. Like, they tried everything to bring me down before I stepped into my power, because it wasn't until 2016 when I started publicly speaking on the internet, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook about all of this information. I believe that they tried everything to take me down before I became a teacher or stepped into my power. And so the last tactic, and truly, this has been the last tactic, was getting me through my heart. That was their whole plan, that they wanted to bring this man into my life to take me down through my heart, right? Through that heart center and romance. And I think that was where my vulnerability was. I'm not going to go into all of the experiences with this reptilian man shapeshifter. I'll tell you a couple of the things that happened during, and this is kind of the X-rated or R-rated part of this video. But I also want to tell you too, most likely if you're watching this right now, you are a light worker, you are here to change things, you are a starseed, and most likely you have encountered a reptilian shapeshifter in your life. Most likely they have tried to take you down. Most likely you will be like, oh my goodness, that boss that I had 5 years ago, or oh my God, that ex-girlfriend, is crazy, right? Anyway, you'll start to put the dots together and then also release the trauma of it, right? Okay, so the main aspect of him was he was extremely manipulating, and every single thing that I thought was right within my soul, he would turn around and say, no, you're wrong because of this. And I listened to him. So my entire reality, we dated for a year, my entire reality was flipped upside down in that year. Like, I didn't even know what the truth was. I didn't even know who I was at the end of it. Like, I lost all aspects of self and reality by the end of it because he manipulated and twisted and controlled everything. The weird thing that I only caught years later was that he would plant all these seeds in my life at that time, and he would try and basically brainwash me against my best life. And I'll give you an example. So he would always, he was very like just traditional with his thinking, like the woman is in the kitchen and she cooks and cleans. I know. I can't believe I was in that kind of relationship either. Anyway, and so he, what was it? Yeah, he would always like put down creative males. He said, oh, you never want to be with a metrosexual who cares about what they look like. And, you know, the faggy types, sorry for my language, you know, who are creative and artsy. You know, you don't want to be with them, right? These musicians, you don't want to be... I didn't realize it at the time, but he was literally describing to a T the relationship that I went into after I dated him, who I almost got married to, right? So that kind of brings you up to the present moment. And and he was a music producer in Toronto and super metrosexual. And once again, this reptilian shapeshifter, he knew my future, he knew my contracts, and he was twisting them all. It was really messed up. He also said, oh, like, you don't want to hang out with your friends because they're all gay and they're going to turn you gay. And he had this really intense fear that I was going to turn gay on him. Ha, you know, what a funny, you know, laying out of events. But once again, he took all my future all my future aspects that I wasn't even aware of, and he brought them on the table and he said, you don't want any of that. Like, what? Like, that's so, okay. So also when I was with him, every aspect about my reality was controlled. He would drop me off and pick me up from school, this and that and whatever. All of my dreams were projected dreams or illusionary dreams, which basically means that reptilians, because they're in the fourth dimension frequency, they can set up a dream and they can take you through some scary events, or they can extract information from you. It was quite messed up. Okay, now let's get into the really weird things. Reptilians are known for blood and sex rituals, okay? This is not for the faint of heart. I didn't realize that he was feeding off of my essence, and I did not realize until after this reptilian relationship that this is what they do, which is they target high vibrational, especially psychics, and this has gone on for generations, for years, for lifetimes, for centuries. They target psychics and high vibrational, very powerful human beings because we have unlocked more than normal DNA, and they feed off of our energy and vibration. The easiest, and this is once again TMI, but the easiest way for these reptilians to feed off of our energy and vibration is through orgasm. And I didn't realize why I was so exhausted every time, we connected in that way. And not to be, once again, a little bit too much here, but he would, I didn't realize why he enjoyed drinking my blood every month. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'm super embarrassed and I'm getting really hot. Okay. He wanted to consume my essence, and he fed off of that. Okay. What he would do is he would lick my armpits, and he would pluck my eyebrow hairs, and he would eat the flesh at the end of them. Okay, it was messed up. That's not even half of it. I started having very vivid flashbacks and recalls to many past life rituals that I was a part of as a psychic, clairvoyant virgin, okay? These reptilian kind of cults and groups exposed themselves as full reptilian beings right before they killed me, right? I was a sacrifice. Anyway, so finally, after going to, literally, I was psychic myself. I lost all my psychic abilities. He said that he didn't want me doing any psychic readings when we were together because he said he didn't want strange men over at my place. Like, you know, talk about the control. And so I literally sought out psychics, sought out information. Every week, it felt like I was going to a new psychic. Finally, one of them, she was a card reader. She pulled the devil card. She looked at me. She says, "You're dating the devil." And I said, "What do you mean?" She says, your partner has an attachment on him. And I said, "Okay, cool." And I didn't really believe her because I didn't want to. You know, I really just was seeking validation to say, you can be in this relationship. It's fine. I really feel like there was some sort of weird curse or spell or something that brought me in, you know, and connected me to him, even though it was kind of messed up. Anyway, and then finally I said to the universe, I said, "Show me a sign, like give me a sign, like I need to know." And right at the end, I was hosting a party. I think it was maybe Halloween, right, at my apartment. And I was standing on a chair to get a cup in the cupboard. And he, you know, came up beside me, and he has these really blue eyes. And he looks at me, and he's, you know, taking me off the chair to go down. And right before he does, he says, "You're my girl, right? You're mine." And right when he said, "You're mine," his blue eyes completely flickered, and they shifted into full-on reptilian eyes. And in that moment, I knew. And it literally, we had a whole conversation, you know, that night, because he's like, "What happened? Like, you were so distant with me, you know, after whatever, you know, at the end of the night." And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm just feeling weird, you know, but I never told him that I saw his true form because who knows what could have happened, right? I just didn't know. Anyway. Okay, so that's my experience with reptilians. That's the information. If you missed the first half of this video, please go watch it. So now I want to talk about what now? What's happening right now with these reptilians? They're clearly here. I'm glad I got out of that relationship. Now you guys probably know a little bit more than you want to about me, which is fine. Okay, so I need to let all of you know that as the vibration on the planet rises, these reptilian beings cannot hold their form anymore. Their technology does not work in 5D. They can't shapeshift anymore. They literally can't, right? If you look at, you know, reptilian celebrities, oh, you know, all of a sudden Adele cancels her whole world tour after 10 super fans see her shapeshift into a 10-foot tall reptilian being. Oh, look, Jay-Z in an airplane shapeshifts into a giant reptoid. Oh my God, Queen Elizabeth, Justin Bieber, like you name it, guys. Just do a little research, do a little digging. You will find the truth in the information that validates and backs up all of my experiences. But once again, if you're triggered, that's okay too. Okay, a couple of things that I have to riff off, and then I want to talk about an affirmation that is going to allow you to dissolve your reptilian fight or flight brain. We're teetering between 3D, 5D right now. That reptilian brain anchors us into the 3D. It's time to completely dissolve that to allow us to have a choice. Okay, so get a piece of paper and a pen if you don't already have one. First of all, not all reptilians are bad. I have worked with a few reptilians who are connected with the Galactic Federation, and they're really awesome, okay? Also, as a matter of fact, each and every one of you are reptilian. And the reason why is because you have reptilian DNA, but you also have Palladian DNA, and angelic DNA, and Anunnaki DNA, and gray DNA, and that's okay too, all right? So The less fear you have, the more ability you have to harness what you were given. Unfortunately, we have all been triggered into this fight or flight with every single aspect of our upbringing that we currently don't have control over what aspects of our DNA we want to unlock. And unfortunately, all we've been working with and all we've been accessing is our reptilian DNA. And it's time to stop that. It's time to liberate yourself to be in full control and full mastery of whatever DNA and expression you want to step into. Okay? So by understanding the darker aspect of who you are and naturally what is within you and loving what is within you naturally, you are able to actually disengage it. All right. Now, a couple more things. I always love, of course, you guys definitely subscribe to this channel if you are enjoying the information. Next week, I'm going to be talking all about DMT. I've never told you guys about my experiences with DMT, and I'm excited to, and I'm nervous, just like I was nervous for this video. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Definitely like this video. Comment below your experiences with reptilians. I'm definitely interested. That being said, if you are battling an individual right now, or you're battling something inside of yourself right now, there is help. And one of my beautiful, incredible starseed family members named Sharma, she's in the UK, and she literally dislodges reptilian entity attachments for a living. Okay, she's incredible. Every single person that has ever gone to her always has raving reviews that they love her so much. She's such a light in such a dark area, and she can help you or your loved ones dislodge dark entities. It's not an affiliate. I don't get any money from that. I literally just believe in her so much, and you guys know that I don't promote anyone. So, she's the real deal. Okay, good. All right. Last but not least, are you ready to finally disengage your fight or flight mechanisms? Are you ready to finally shut down your third dimensional attachments and connections, and that fear and that rage and that attachment and that control mechanism that you have within you? I hope you are, because this affirmation is going to do it for you. And I just want to say that it's not all love and light after you say this affirmation. You might have to purge out some darker aspects of yourself after this affirmation. I'm going to say it to all of you. It's going to take a couple of times to repeat this. Hopefully you say it and repeat it intentionally, feeling the vibration behind it of pure love. And also, sitting in meditation right before bed are good times to say this affirmation. Only say it if you're ready to really do it, okay? And this is the perfect time in quarantine. All right, here's the affirmation. I'll repeat it a couple times too. I choose to disengage my reptilian DNA so that I have full sovereignty over every aspect of my reality. I'm going to repeat that. I choose to disengage my reptilian DNA so that I have full sovereignty over every aspect of my reality. And I know it's long, so I'll say it one more time. I choose to disengage my reptilian DNA so that I have full sovereignty over every aspect of my reality. Now, I sat for a long time and I worked with that affirmation. And the last part is the most important, so that you have full sovereignty over every aspect of your reality. So it doesn't mean that you're shutting it down just to shut it down. You can work with the fight or flight. That's what makes you a hustler. That's what makes you human in a lot of ways, right? You can work with the reptilian brain. But if you're engrossed in the reptilian brain, you won't be able to rise above it. You won't be able to have that full control and full sovereignty and freedom to work with any expression of your body and DNA. Okay? So thank you all so much. This was an incredible video. I finally kind of put it out there. It was super nerve-wracking and I'm super sweaty right now. But I love you all so much. Keep up the good work. Once again, one more time, if you're interested in a shift masterclass and you're a bit struggling in the transition from 3D to 5D, email me and I will send you all the details and information for this masterclass. And it's a shift masterclass going from 3D to 5D. All right, guys, love you all so much. Keep up the high vibes. I am very excited to release next week's video all about psychedelics, DMT, plant medicine, you name it. Bring it on. Let's go there. It's time. And thank you all for your beautiful super chats. I love you so much. Bye.